Hi, I'm Ella, and this is my personal framing statement presentation. So, what are frames? Frames are the ways that people tend to view everything through, like a lens, and they help us to understand ourselves and others around us and how to communicate with them and approach them as people who are different than us. So, there are four frames, starting off with the red frame. This is the political frame, which prioritizes power and action, moving things along very quickly. A way that someone with a red frame may communicate is using bullet points. Then the yellow frame is the symbolic frame, which prioritizes belonging and culture. A way someone in the yellow frame may communicate online is through a lot of emojis and exclamation points. And then the green frame is the human resources frame, which emphasizes trust. They may communicate with a lot of diction, showing feeling and emotions and showing their understanding. And then finally, the blue frame is the structural frame, which focuses on policies, functions, and structure. Who has a blue preference may communicate an idea using a spreadsheet with a lot of structure. What is reframing? Reframing is looking at a situation through another person's lens in order to best understand how to approach them in a way that best matches their preferences. One example of this is in the TV show Gossip Girl. The character on the right, Serena, gets into Yale because basically she's a socialite, and because of her social standing, which very much upsets her friend Blair on the left, who has a blue color preference. And Blair is very upset by this because it doesn't match her role of structure and how things should align and roles in an organization. And basically, Serena comes to her and tells her she understands why she's upset, and she recognizes that it is an upheaval of structure, and she basically comes to her and reframes herself from this perspective, and they're able to resolve their conflict, even though Serena is a yellow frame, and she may not see things the same way. She was able to reframe, and by doing so, resolve their conflict. So I personally lead with a yellow and a red frame secondary. This leads me to be very extroverted and sociable in situations and on teams. I can also be very competitive, which does lead me to get things done and be very directive and timely. However, because of my color preferences, I do sometimes lack patience and detail orientation, which are something which you can be found more so in the blue and green frames. Through this course, I've better been able to understand my personal frames, which helps me to communicate with people in my life because it helps me understand and recognize the need to slow down and listen to others, rather than going full throttle with my own ideas and like speaking over people, which I can have a tendency to do. Just helps me to have like a lot more patience by reframing myself in a certain context. So, how do frames fit into organizations? The four frames political structure, human resources, and symbolic all have a place in organizations. Some organizations may lead more on one or the other. However, a balance is really key in some direction in order to get things done. So, a few ways that organizations really benefit from having a leader who understands frames is leaders are able to coordinate balance on teams. Because, for instance, a yellow team may never get any work done and be too social if everyone has a yellow color preference. They need the balance in the structure, which a red, a blue color preference employees can provide. And then also understanding specific employee needs are different. For example, someone with a blue color preference may be embarrassed by having to accept an award in front of their coworkers. However, someone with a yellow color preference may find it highly motivating to accept that reward. So, a leader needs to really understand each employee and what would best fit their needs in certain situations in order to reward them and motivate them. And then finally, tailored communication towards a goal. For instance, when getting an employee started on a project, someone with a red color preference may be most motivated by clear directives, emphasizing goals and like actions that should be completed. Whereas one with a green color preference should be appealed to by how they feel and like how working on a project can help others and help others feel in the long term. And then finally, with frames and organizations, reconciling conflict is something which a leader will have to approach when it comes to people with opposite frames. For instance, a coworker with a yellow color preference may make a lot of jokes and be very silly, while those with blue preferences may simply want to get the work done. And this would be seen largely in like a storming phase where people are just getting together and discovering how they work with each other. And then in my personal leadership, I believe that the blue frame would be most difficult for me to just lead, just because I feel that the introversion may cause me to like have to go seek them out and find like what problems they may be having within an organization, and they might not be as inclined to speak up. So I think it's very good to keep in mind that those the blue frame may I may need to go seek them out in order to become their advice, or to like maybe send them an anonymous form or such in order to meet their needs. Moving on. In conclusion, this course has increased my understanding of myself and others through frames and contexts and organizations. This this people first focus of this class has led me to see organizations more so as a collection of people rather than simply the work they do and like a building. I really understand how important it is to understand individuals within organizations and after taking this class. And thank you so much. That is everything that I have for today.